Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the virtual Canadian HR conference. You are at the last session for today at 3 o'clock. We have a panel at 3:30. And joining me is Tovey Blake. She has been an administrative people and operations leader for the last 20 plus years. Falling into entrepreneurship was never on the agenda. She progressed through her career working for various organizations in which senior management, human resources, and at times peers did not reward curiosity, courage, empathy, and equality. She currently works for Tidal Equity as a business transformation manager, where she is dedicated to building long-lasting partnerships with the learners/clients, developing strategies that optimize organizational efficiencies, and putting forth ideas that she hopes will contribute to building equality in radically new ways. Thank you so much for your presentation. Good luck, and I'll come back just at the end just to help close things out, okay?
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. As Sandra said, my name is Tovey Blake. I am from Tidal Equality. Today, I actually just wanted to join you guys to talk about getting candidates across the line in 2022. Just a little bit about Tidal Equality. As you can see, we have our values there: curiosity, courage, candor, empathy, equality. What we're really trying to achieve is a world in which equality is the new status quo and all people can achieve their full potential. How we're doing that, we have developed a game-changing methodology called Equity Sequence, and I will get into that a little bit later, that puts equity at the heart of decision-making. So what I wanted to talk about today is I have found, in addition to working with Tidal Equality, I also as well do HR consulting on the side, and I have been helping a lot of clients lately do a lot of hiring. I'm sure everybody is aware of the actual shortage crisis that is occurring, probably, I think, at least in North America, but definitely in Canada. So I have found in doing this and participating in this activities with assisting clients with hiring, there seems to be a new finish line. So, a lot of candidates that I talk to, they're basically saying that they're not going to be taking jobs or considering jobs that where the perks were as previous. So, with Google, they were offering, you had your pods, you could, have a massage therapist come in and all that other stuff, right? So, the finish line has really changed in the fact that it's no longer signing the contract or even somebody showing up to the first day of the job. Like I'm saying, that's for myself, that's so 2019. Candidates have really, heightened their expectations of themselves and the employers. So it's no longer about the money and fitting into this mold. So employers are going to have to be doing a lot more in order to not only getting candidates coming in, but as well getting them to stay. So as I had mentioned, the current state of the labor market is very much in a crisis state. I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing lately about this idea of the Great Resignation. For those who haven't, really has been coined by Anthony Klotz from Texas A&M. And what it really means is that there's going to be this exodus of mass voluntary resignations pretty much from the workplace. So I can't see the chat right now, but it would be, if you guys want to actually put this in, I'll answer it at the end of the presentation. But between 2021, which age group do you think has experienced the most resignations? Your options are 20 to 25 years, 25 to 30, 30 to 45, and we're going to leave it at that. So if you want to type that in the chat, I'll give you guys that answer at the end of the presentation. Again, the question is, which age group has experienced the most resignations? 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 45, and that's between 20 and 21. So I'm actually just going to give you the answer now. It's actually 30 to 45 years old. So that's the actual age group right now that basically is having the most resignation. So some of the factors that are driving that is pretty much with people having the opportunity to work remotely. They are basically experiencing there's more kind of happiness, there's more kind of contentment in the fact that they are able to see and are removed from the current position that they're in and have the opportunity to explore other opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have explored before. Obviously, this is an issue for actual employers because what they're finding is that they're having to get more riskier in who they're actually having to select as options for candidates. So even though it's beneficial to that 30 to 45-year-old range, it's not necessarily beneficial to the organizations having to fill positions at this point. So as I had mentioned before about the worker shortage crisis, right now the Business Development Bank of Canada is showing that 55% of small and medium-sized business across the countries have not been able to fill job vacancies for 3 or 4 months. 26% are having trouble retaining workers. So as you can see, there is a big issue in, as I said, causing what I'm saying is a new finish line. It's not about, just getting the actual candidates to show up for the first day of work. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some real life circumstances that candidates are sharing with me about what's impacting their decisions to join an organization. Before I get into the first one, I just wanted to start off with this quote saying, "I am too intelligent, too demanding, and too resourceful for anyone to be able to take charge of me entirely." And that's from Simone de Beauvoir. So the first reason that I'm finding, or the first thing that actual candidates are looking for, is that they're wanting leaders, not managers. So what their response to me in regards to this is that they want an actual employer or organization that is willing to basically not only invest in their professional development, but their personal development as well, taking an actual genuine interest about their outside interest and passion of what makes them, the complete person that they are, not just at work. Also, as well, the transparency and the communication. I know that this has probably been very difficult, especially people that transition from in-person to actually going online. So I think in some instances, I feel like we're all kind of zoomed out or teamed out or whatever the case may be. But a lot of candidates are still wanting that transparency. They're still wanting that communication. So they're still wanting their leaders to understand that even though they're working remotely, doesn't mean that you communicate less. And one of the main other things that they're saying is that they don't want employers or organizations to be questioning if they're actually working from home. Respect them as a valued contributor of the organization, of the group, and just stop micromanaging. I don't know if anybody's ever watched The Office, the movie Office Space, I apologize. And I took this from here, we're not micromanaging you. Just tell us everything you do in a day, how many times you do them, and how long it takes. So this is a whole concept of candidates wanting leaders and not managers. The next thing that they have brought up to me is the opportunity for growth. So as most people know, the first thing that, a lot of employers and organizations, how they reacted to the pandemic is really just decided to cut roles. So, for a lot of clients that I am, dealing with hiring and talking to candidates, instead of cutting roles, and I said like trees being indiscriminately destroyed in the Amazon rainforest, they want companies that believe in the best time to invest in them. Instead of getting rid of them, actually invest in their training and education when the business slows down instead. So it's really coming down to thinking of their employees or even freelancers in the case as people, not sequentially like in an I signed ID number. This next one is a very important one. So, having flexible workplace alternatives. So a lot of people, it's not just about working remote only, because for some people, that fulfillment really actually comes from having that human connection, that on and on in person, every day for some of them. But now that people had the opportunity to be able to work remotely, you have that group that want to work solely remotely, but then you have also people that want to, work in a hybrid situation. A lot of the issue, and for some employers and organizations that they're facing, is that they have current employees that don't want to come back to the office full time, and then they're not wanting to be flexible in the fact of they want them to come back, otherwise it's like no option for them to continue their employment. And I think employers really need to recognize that the mindset shift has happened. They can no longer tell employees that you can't work at home, because they have experienced it and it has been working for now almost literally over 2 years, right? So, you know, with workers being in the situation that they've been able to work remotely, they want to work for somebody that values flexibility and gives them that autonomy. They are finding that more attractive than, having those pods or office decor, free food, and all of that other stuff, right? So, they even BDC is saying that suggests employers need to be more flexible by hiring by allowing people to work from home, offering more compensation and benefits, and more internal training. So that goes back to the previous one where we were talking about for the opportunity to growth. Instead of cutting people, actually invest in the times of training and internal training, or whether it be external training, when things actually slow down. Having shorter work weeks. And I know sometimes people think that this can't work even in a freelance situation, but it definitely is if you have an individual or team member that is willing to align whatever their availability is with the actual employer and organization. So I think a lot of people need to realize that, you know, having shorter work weeks. I read an article, and I'm sourcing this from the source there, from the Shorting Work Week Trials and an Overwhelming Success in Ireland. And they did actual case studies on this and actually showed that this decreased like stress and burnout for people's mental health, their work-life balance, all of that stuff actually ended up benefiting the employer and the organization more, because of the fact that these employees with a shorter work week felt they have more control and more freedom over their life. Self-care, health and wellness programs is another one. And this is not even something that actually has to be really expensive. Some of this can be actually free. So I have one client, we have worked together to incorporate some deep work or quiet days. So at Tidal Equality, we just actually incorporated that for us. So every Friday is a quiet day for us. So it doesn't mean that we're not working, but we're working independently on things that are either going back to the organization, but we're not having any meetings that day. We're focusing on things that, maybe you're not necessarily related to the organization. Maybe it's us actually being able to catch up on, articles and videos and all that stuff that we know help us be able to create greater experiences for our learners when they come to us, and wanting to learn about equity sequence and how they can get the work and do the work that they're wanting and aiming to do. So another one that another organization has been using is that they've been having employees go to each other and do kind of these mental health check-ins, right? It's like just even going up into them and saying, are you okay? Like, how are you doing? Like, just even the simplicity in that, and that doesn't cost anything, right? So, as I said, this not only works for an employer and employee work environment, it can work for freelancers as well. And part of the flexibility as well is offering, stipends for healthcare, for example, or personal time off and bereavement. I've been fortunate enough. I actually just lost my mother recently, and I've had such great clients that have been gracious enough to offer me bereavement days, even though I am a freelancer. So those type of things go a long way in order to be able to want not only candidates to apply for the job, sign a contract, but getting them in the door to stay for the long term. The other thing that they're looking at is the culture. So, a lot of people would be surprised, but according to a survey from Bonusly, 63% of those in a recent survey said if they are regularly recognized, they are unlikely to look for a new job. That is a very, very high percentage for something that is so simple in the fact of just saying you did a good job, thank you for what you've done. Just for employers having that interaction and treating their employee as, a valuable contributor to the team, an asset, right? They want people to continue to foster cultures where workers will continue, to be respected. I think for me, the most thing that I'm hearing about is that they want to feel like valued members of the organization. Like, people don't want to no longer come to work and feel like they're just working in their job description. They want to feel like a valued member of their organization. They want meaningful and rewarding work, which all of those things lead to not only productivity, but it contributes to the bottom line, of the organization, and most importantly, executing and carrying out that purpose. The next one here is, embodying corporate responsibility and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this one personally for myself is very important. I have decided for my personal self, owning my own business as a freelancer, that I have to work with a client that is giving back to the community in some type of way that I feel is not only genuine, but it actually is making an impact. Whatever their contribution is making is actually making an impact to the community or to the people that are in receiving of it. A lot of them are not wanting to deal with organizations where it conflicts or contradicts with their moral or ethical values as well, right? When you go into an interview, you have candidates asking a lot more questions. They want to know to themselves, like, they're getting these types of smoke signals that they can be themselves. We've talked about that representation does not mean inclusion. And I know for a lot of employers, some of them think that, right? They think they can have like a one-off, for example, diversity and training course and think to themselves, okay, this is all that's needed. But people have to understand that just adding some calendars or cultural celebrations to a calendar isn't going to cut it, right? So as I mentioned before, for equity sequences, an example of a long-term, practice that can be used across, individuals in the organization from top to bottom in order to really help the people in the organization build true, genuine equity and ultimately equality, right? And it's really taking one question and one decision at a time, right? So our equity sequence, equips people to expand equity by asking a series of powerful and equity-focused strategic questions without judgment and with curiosity and respect. It focuses on a collaborative, collective effort, because that's the only way anything is ever really going to change, is by numbers, by people coming together and creating that power in order to take everybody to the further step of expanding and, creating this environment in this world of greater equity and inclusion. They don't want bandwagon tokenization. So when I say that, it's really people that create these diversity and equity inclusion committees as the answer, but their approach usually leads to colleagues, of the underrepresented groups finding that the actual colleagues are answering in a problematic way within the terms of how they address things, like as in, oh, we just need people of more skin color, or, somebody that or homosexual, that, in order to create that diversity, right? They want people that are going to take it beyond that, you know what I mean, that are involved in their communities and that take a stand for things that they believe that actually matter, you know. Some people have to realize that for working at home, this has been a safe haven for a lot of people that have been bullied or, you know, have been dealing with microaggressions in their workplace, you know. So it is very important that, you know, corporations and, you know, corporation organization, whether it be small business, even as a solopreneur, that we are actually incorporating and embodying this idea of inclusivity, that everybody is welcome. So my last one is going to be recruiting. So, you know, as I mentioned before, we are having this issue with labor shortages, and there's been high decline rates of people rejecting job offers, regardless of the fact that they need a job. And some of the hiring difficulties have included the lack of candidates, the lack of skills, lack of experience, right? So even pre-pandemic, we were having this issue. It has only escalated as now in the pandemic, right? So right now the government has been trying to, you know, ramp up their program where they're trying to bring in immigrants where they can add to the workforce about 400,000. But similar to the paperless environment that everybody talks about, machines, or, you know, even the aspect, yes, that, you know, we need automation and we need machines, but those things will never actually replace actual people and what they can contribute, right? Um, so in regards to improving this, I'm finding that a lot of my clients are going to a data-driven approach, which allows them to be able to identify trends and things that are happening. So, for example, if the candidate has a poor experience, maybe they're doing a post interview survey. If the compensation is out of alignment, failure to communicate position details effectively. Once you identify the disconnect, you're able to actually address and improve the communication efforts, which obviously overall is perfecting the candidate experience. And maybe you have to look at reconsidering your compensation package. Um, as I said, a lot of it is being driven by data, incorporating a data-driven approach, which automation is very much included in that. You know, and that will look different in every organization. But one of the three things that they should be doing is quantifying the problem, identifying the root cause, and developing tailored retention programs. So, in summary, what it really comes down to is carrying capital, investing in team members beyond their talent, not creating unnecessary mandates. The work must be meaningful, as I had mentioned before, to their team members. Over the past 12 months, the BDC says businesses have offered more flexible work arrangements, trained less qualified workers, and recruited younger workers and students. And that's how they've been able to get candidates across the finish line, but not by understanding that they cannot continue to follow what they have been doing in the past. So that's my presentation for today. Thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for me? I see that Anna said some people who were struggling workplace have had a breath during the pandemic if they were able to work at home. And that's absolutely true, Anna, because I know that a lot of people, you know, I don't know if people on this call, you can let me know if you've heard of a term called code switching, you know, where a lot of people feel that they can't really be themselves in their workplace. So because of that, you know, and it's even happening on a remote basis as well, if people are actually surprised about that. You know, you have a lot of people that might have ethnic things in their home finding themselves having to hide it or, you know, not show it or take it down in order to fit into their culture. You know, so these are things that we really, really need to look at. As I said, people at the end of the day, what I'm finding for candidates is that they just want an actual employer that really actually cares. So as I said, it really comes down And everything that I talked about is the caring capital.
Hi, Tovey.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I in your bio, I realized after that I misread the title there when I was reading your bio.
No worries, no worries, no worries.
Sorry about that. I just quickly before you go, I just was wondering if you'd be able to put your contact information into the chat area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your LinkedIn as well, just so that people can reach out to you after the event as well.
Perfect. No problem. I can do that.
Perfect. I see your LinkedIn there. Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you everyone for attending this session, and thank you for being here today at the event. We do have our panel starting at 3:30, so if you wanted to head over to the main stage, we'll be starting very soon. And if not, you're more than welcome to go over to the networking area and to network with other people at the event as well.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.